Hello and welcome to BFU Podcast with Mo Love. I'm Mo Love, and today is a special episode. Not because you're here, but because we have a special guest. She is an entertainer that I first seen in Houston at a friendly but not so friendly drag competition called Desi's Drag Race, hosted by former Miss Gay America, Desi Love Blake. I first saw this entertainer, and first off, Santa was hot. But I was
Right.
in love with their creativity and their use of taking the prompt and twisting it into a very interesting perspective. Y'all, please welcome Bed Off Betty.
Hello, Mo Love. It is so good to be here. I just want to say, first and foremost, you look absolutely stunning, and
Thank
I
you.
didn't realize we were going to be going for the same look today.
Just a little something to go pick up some milk,
Of
almond
course,
milk,
of
of course.
course.
So, you did season, Lord, I don't even know what season of Desi she's on now, but what season did you do?
I did season 24 of Desi's Drag Race, and this is the last Desi's Drag Race I think they've done since.
Yes, I just remember this was the last one because after that she won Miss Gay America. This is not a Desi Love Blake plug anyway. She's not going to be a guest anytime soon because my season she was ready to send my black ass home.
Well, you were the lip sync assassin of your season, a little birdie told me.
I was definitely the lip sync assassin, especially when we had drag suicide. I think I'm the only person to go six lip sync.
I will say, yeah, I talked about it. We had a girl named Wilhelmina Guess on our season, and I can't lie, Miss Mo, she was kind of coming for your lip sync assassin gig, but I still think you got one on her.
I think I do. Questions we done jumped all the way in. So I guess my first question is, what's the story behind your drag name?
The story behind my drag name, ever since you sent me the list of questions, I had to really think about it. And I realized it comes from two different places. I was a young faggot in the town of Lake Charles, Louisiana, and there wasn't really a lot of active drag queens at the time. And so one of the first drag entertainers I got close with, Chaotic Soul. Her name is Portia Matthews from Lake Charles, and she used to always say like, "Oh, girl, that's bad off. Like, look at your outfit today. That's bad off." And then I kind of took that and I started using it, and so I started saying like, I kind of turned it into bad off Betty. I'd be like, I'd look at somebody and be like, "Don't be a bad off Betty." And then whenever I got into drag, I played with a couple of different names that are really cringy to think about, but whenever I really sat down and thought about it, I was like, okay, what is going to really be a true name to the type of drag that I want to do? And then instantly it hit me, Bad Off Betty. And I think that I still maintain that brand to this day.
All right, all right. Now, when was the first time you did drag?
Ooh, okay. So besides being like a little cross dresser in my bathroom mirror, the first time I actually got on stage and did drag, we had a local talent competition. And, I had been talking big shit to everybody. Like, you just wait till I throw my hat in the ring. You just wait. And then once I saw this talent competition come up at a place called Castaways out here in Lake Charles, rest in peace to it. I knew that was finally my time. So I got a bunch of people together. When you're first time in drag, it takes a village. And
Mm-hmm.
so I got a bunch of help from a bunch of amazing people, and I went out there. I did a Takashi 69 and Nicki Minaj song as a rainbow bunny, a young money bunny, if you will, and I won it. And then I didn't go there to win or anything. I just went there to get my foot in the door. But once I won, I kind of thought, okay, wait, maybe I'm not delusional. Maybe this is something that I could pursue.
Okay.
The prize money was nice, of course, too.
Now, what was the turning point in your career?
We started off the interview with this. I have to say, Desi's Drag Race really was the turning point in my career. I I was still very much new. I was just a few months in whenever I kind of threw my hat in the ring of Desi's Drag Race. And, I went there not really knowing what to expect, especially seeing the lineup for my season. I was like, okay, I'm looking at people like Anita Refill. Uh,
Y'all had a
oh,
pretty stacked season. I mean,
and
and no lie, like going in.
I respect Wilhelmina because, during our season, they went really hard on her. All love to the judges because I adored every single one of them. But, it felt like it was a situation of she was in a competition, they were going really hard on her, but every single time they put her in the bottom two, she was not going to go anywhere. And she didn't. She made it all the way to the end with us.
She was definitely like me. Cause baby, I mean, she fought.
Really gagged. I remember, prior to that, a little inside tea. She kept going around the dressing room in the back, and she was like, "If I'm in the bottom, I don't know this song." And I was like, "Well, girl, look at you. You're not about to be in no type of bottom." I mean, she herself is a bottom, but I was like, in this competition, you're not about to be in the bottom, so you have nothing to worry about. And
Oh my
then
gosh, she's a bottom. I'm surprised she didn't know that song. I mean, that was a banger.
Anita, there's no way she can go anywhere. And then when Desi stopped the lip sync, I was like, no, surely not. And then she said, Anita, you can go ahead and go. I just have to say, Anita is one of my closest friends from that Desi's Drag Race experience. She is genuinely one of the coolest, down to earth, and yet somehow next level rotted bitches I have ever met in my entire life. And I will always love her.
And I said, I love her to death. Death. I respect her so much.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, so if you could ban one common practice in drag, what would it be?
Can I only choose one?
Just one. If you could just ban it and it never be a thing ever again.
You know what? My original answer to this question was going to be Lady Marmalade closing numbers, but I have since switched out. I have since switched out my answer. This isn't so much about drag aesthetic or drag performance, but if I could phase one thing out of drag culture in general, um, I think there's a lot of promoters and bookers that will book you for the sole purpose of they want to fuck you out of drag. Am I allowed to say fuck on here or not?
Yeah, you already said it.
I double down. My apologies. I did mention I'm from Louisiana, right? No, but I think that some people that are over bookings, they will book you because they are interested in what you give out of drag, what they may get from you outside of drag. And I wish that would be dropped. I'm somebody that loves what I do, love to perform. I love to come up with different crazy concepts and looks and whatever the case may be. I don't know. I think that when you mix business and pleasure, it can get a little sticky.
Mm-hmm.
So that is something that I would love to ban in the world of drag.
I like that. I like that. For me, I would say it goes to the promoters and the show directors, but it's people booking their friends and not booking talent.
Yeah, yeah.
That's not really what drag's about.
I agree. I agree. And I think that's why I was not always the most well received by everybody, and I are cool now, but I think I wasn't always the most well received whenever I did Desi's because I was up against a lot of seasoned entertainers, and I was very grateful to get amazing feedback throughout my run in Desi's as a rookie. And I think that, kind of like you said, I think at some point the creativity gets put on the back burner because people are worried about their name and the money aspect. And I was really just there to have fun. And I think the fact that I was there to have fun really is what made some of the judges resonate with me so much. And
Mm-hmm.
I just wish some of my competitors on that season, who again I think are all top tier artists, would have been able to have a little bit more fun during their run on my season of Desi's.
When people go back after doing the season, most of them are trying to prove something.
I studied drag for a long time before I ever decided to dabble, and you know, the Houston scene is something that I really respected. I would always go out to all of the shows, and um, I remember seeing you perform for the first time, and I was very moved. And I just have to say that, um, you were somebody that I very much looked up to, and I've always gone up for you as a performer. So I just had to take a little second to give you your flowers.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. We love flowers. All right, so we're going to dig a little deeper, meat and potatoes. So, what is your star sign?
I am a Sagittarius, and I would like.
Sagittarius.
Yes, I think that I fully live up to the stereotypes, both the good and the bad. I am a double Sag at that, so I am just fire on top of fire.
Okay. I've known a lot of Sagittarius in my life. My baby brother's a Sagittarius, and a couple of loves of my lives were Sagittarius. Because, Beyonce's a Virgo, Jay Z's a Sagittarius, so I thought maybe it'll work for me too.
Well, I mean, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I would like to cut for the Sagittarii. I think that's the plural for Sagittarius. All the Sagittarii out there, I would like to think we make great lovers. I could be
Yeah.
biased, though.
Whereas Virgos, well, I can't speak for all Virgos, but first thing I say is I'm not a sub. Uh, I want it my way. You're gonna do it my way, and if you don't like it, then you can stay home.
You know what? I like that attitude. I may have to start dabbling with a Virgo. I don't know. Maybe a Virgo is my next journey.
It worked for Jay Z because he's a Sagittarius.
Yeah, he's definitely the lucky one for sure.
What is your biggest pet peeve
Gosh. Now is this my biggest pet peeve in drag or in general?
in general?
My biggest pet peeve is people who call you through social media platforms. If you call me on Snapchat, you're getting blocked. If you call me on LinkedIn, you're getting blocked. Well, actually, I need the job, so go ahead and call me on LinkedIn if anybody's listening that can hire me. But if you call me on Facebook Messenger, you're getting blocked. I will block my own mother if she calls me on Facebook Messenger. So I think that is one of my biggest pet peeves. That
Now, what
would
if they didn't have your number though? Well, I mean, do you mean like randoms or like people you talk
I would say randoms. No, if it's somebody I know, that's different. But see, somebody I know has my number. The randoms, there's a reason they don't. And all the DL men that I may or may not entangle with, that's if I don't respond to them fast enough, one of their go-tos is call me on Snapchat. Not once, not twice, but we're gonna go into the double digits, and that is how you get blocked and quickly.
that's just exactly what happened to me. This should
That's
make
like
it bad.
that's
But you know what? It's my own fault because I love to hear him talk because the accent.
deep voice. It's that deep voice.
It's a weakness of mine. All right, next question. And this is a big one, so I want you to really think about it. If you won $10 million tomorrow, what would you spend it on?
Oh God. For one, a much, much better wig. Much better wig. And on top of that, I think that, one of my biggest dreams, I've always wanted to be a homeowner. I am 28 years old. I think that a house, taking care of my mom and my loved ones, those are my top two priorities. And then, unfortunately, I hate to say it, but I think all the rest would go to drag.
$10
Because,
million
Lord,
dollars it can buy a lot of stuff.
I'm just saying, I
I
could
mean,
keep saying goodbye finally.
you can definitely buy a seamstress on call.
I might have to hit up Kitty Contour once I win that 10 million.
Now, what would the title of the book about you be if it was written by your enemy?
Ooh, if it was written by my enemies, I think that the title of that book would be called Opportunist, and that would be in bold letters. I am somebody that has always been hungry for opportunity. I am somebody that is very driven in the world of drag, and so I may or may not have been accused of being an opportunist a couple of times in my drag journey. So that or just simply bad off, which you know.
I think Bad Off would be epic. I mean, but I think anybody that does drag is an opportunity.
I agree. And I think there's a right way and a wrong way. I think if you have to step on toes and throw people under the bus to get those opportunities, then you're dark sided. But I think that, I've just always been a go-getter, and I think sometimes that rubs people the wrong way. And, I think that some of the people who have maybe thrown those wild accusations my way, I just don't think that they have the same drive, and I think that's why sometimes occasionally I've been known as an opportunist.
Most of these promoters and stuff, they want to see how grungy, how dark side you can get as opportunists. They love it. They love it.
It's true. It's true. They really do. Nicki Minaj has a very, very poetic line where she says, "These bitches copied my homework. That's what they hand in." I think that may apply to you, Miss Mo Love.
I say a lot of things that people use down the line. I'm not one to just say, "Oh, I said that first. I'm gonna go ahead and record them so I can get credit for them." When it comes to lip syncing,
Hmm.
do you think the use of props and stage elements during lip sync is something that could one up somebody in a lip sync battle?
You know what? I in my regular bookings, I actually really love to incorporate set pieces and props and things like that. But I think that is something that enhances my lip sync and enhances my performance. However, I think that if you have to rely on props or whatever it is that you have, rely on props, gags in order to win the lip sync, I think you've lost the point of the lip sync. I think the biggest part of the lip sync is to know your words, to
Know
embody
the
the song.
word.
And
Yeah.
I think that if, you can find a nice balance of both, incorporating the gags and the props and everything like that into a well-rounded performance. I think, going back to that pet peeve question, one of my pet peeves in drag is when, the bucking and kicking divas or the gimmick divas, which I am one of those two things. I'll let you guess which one. Um, I am one of those two things, and I think that whenever that's all they rely on, and they feel like the lyrics and the embodiment of the song comes second, I think that's when you've kind of lost the plot of what you're doing lip syncing.
I like that. I like that. Like I would love to see a show of drag models
I agree.
because there's some girls that cannot perform at all. I think you probably know who I'm talking about. But when I see her post a promo, I love every promo she posts. I hate to
Hmm.
see her perform, but I love her pictures and her creativity. I think
Well, I
she
wasn't gonna say it, but I'm glad you did.
I think she's a hilarious person, but I love her pictures.
I agree. I agree. Yeah, I would love to see more diversity in queer programming. I think that we're starting to get there. We are, but yeah, you're right. There is so much more to um queerdom than drag and all of that. So, I growing up watching people like Pete Burns and George Michael and I mean even RuPaul in her early days. Ross Matthews, those are people that I grew up watching. When Ross was just a little guy with the microphone interviewing the celebrities, like
Yeah.
anytime I saw a glimpse of something that I could relate to, that was a big deal to me as a young little F word in Louisiana.
Now, what about famous show Will and Grace?
I have to say this, don't shoot me dead, and anybody that's watching, please don't shoot me dead. I was never very into Will and Grace, I have to admit.
I love Will and Grace for all the wrong reasons. It had nothing to do with Will or Jack, but for Karen, I loved Karen. Karen made that show. I think Karen's the reason why I'm able to read the way I read and just look at something like, honey, that's awful.
She she perfected the art of reading without saying too much. She just knew how to say just enough to make those characters shut down internally, and I respect that.
She had some major one liners. She definitely was a pioneer.
I have to agree. I think I know a lot of queer people that have taken inspiration from her.
But I thought the show was really like gay friends.
It really was, you know. I think one of the first times I ever saw a non-reality queer show, and I will admit that this show has not aged well throughout the years. It's definitely a product of its time. I think specifically because of its lack of representation, but I think that growing up seeing queer as folk for the first time, I think that was a big game changer for me. It highlighted the challenges that queer people face, but I also think that it showed I related to it so much, and it showed me that like there was, you know, I grew up very religious. I grew up in a you will never be happy, you will never find love unless you are everything but what you are right now. And I think like seeing the dynamics that played out on that show really did show me that I did have a future to come as a queer person, you know?
I love sketch comedy. I love improv. Like in Living Color, I wish we had in Rainbow Color.
Let's make it happen. You know what? We may need to put our producer hats on and maybe make some shit shake.
There's so many different times where I've seen like where you see straight character or straight actors and actresses do these roles, and some of them they excel in, and some of it's like, oh, what are you doing?
Well, you know, the worst part is when you see them being noticeably uncomfortable. Whoever the fuck is responsible for that Love Simon movie with that really awful, like, straight bro gay kiss at the end, I will never forgive them. I want to send them a cease and desist on behalf of the entire queer community.
But I will say that movie kind of resonated, and it's making a big staple, especially being that today is National Coming Out Day. But I mean, I got the reason why they had that kind of actor in the movie
Hmm.
because for the most part, most of these characters are the very hot, very pretty boy looking character. And it's never like the nerdy guy that goes to school
Right.
the band nerd. They never got that shot. It's always either someone that's like overly flamboyant or somebody that tries to fit in. So, I mean, that's the only thing I got from the movie. That was kind of like, okay, he was a regular guy that faced his feelings.
Yes. You know, I see that point of view. You know what? You may have changed my mind a little bit.
But I think they could have gotten a regular gay guy to play
I
him.
have to agree. I have to agree. And, you know, God knows us homosexuals, we are a planetary epidemic. Plenty of us to be casted and booked.
I always tell people, I was like, drag's a career.
Yes, it's an art form.
It's a job. It's not sexuality.
It's true.
Anytime I'm in drag, I will have on shoes.
Now, I'm not sure if I should wake this up, but have you ever entangled in drag before?
Okay, so there I will tell you, there was this one time, and it's hilarious. So he's like, let's hang out, let's chill. I was like, okay, I'm down too. So he lived downtown. Most of the time, I go home, I get out the shed, I shower and all that. But this was like my place is right here. I was like, okay. So we get there. I kind of like I want to shower and all this, and I was like, shit, I have to take this shit with me. So I rinsed off, put everything by the door, wrapped it up in my little tip around dress, and had my boots there. I'm about to get it in, and there's no stopping me because I literally didn't even put on my flip flops. I still have my tights. I changed hair. I have a big show hair on. And
Something a little bit more doable, something a little bit more optimal,
something a little bit more you can toss around. So
but don't pull on it now. Don't you go around pulling on it.
sun's starting to come up, and I was like, I have to go to work. Now it's like 6:30 in the morning. The sun's rising. I was like, we done ate, we done fucked. I had to take this big bundle of drag. Mind you, the visitor area is on the street, and he's like way in the back. So I'm like walking through an alley, up some stairs, down some stairs, around the corner. I'm like, I'm not putting these shoes back on. I'm not putting these heels back on. My pads are here. My eyelashes like stuck on my hand.
Because we're not
It
about to
was,
get no good lashes go to waste. We're not.
it was a mess. I put the little dress on. I was like, oh, I look a mess. This is like the walk of shame. But that
You
was
know,
like the only time I've ever like had sex like with drag.
that's what I'm saying. And those guys, they don't get it. They fall for the illusion. They don't really know. You're probably more dressed. You're wearing more than an Eskimo. Okay, like you are layer. It's layers on layers on layers, and they don't understand the illusion. I have to say I have never fucked in drag. That is not anything that I am interested in. And also, Miss Bad Betty, she gets a lot of chasers and they confuse me because, when I show up to the function looking like this, I'm like, what about this got you stimulated? What about this got your blood flowing? Like I show up to the club dressed like a spider. So, the Betty Chasers, they confuse me, but yeah, no, you'd have to think, I think when you're young, you almost feel like conditioned to to perform in the bedroom and you feel like it's all about these people's pleasure, but I think, something I'm glad that I matured on is realizing like, oh wait, it's not all about these fuck ass men. Like I'm trying to get mine.
Now I've had some that they have done amazing. And I was like, I'm glad we were able to have this experience. And there are others before they can get out the door, they block.
Fair. You pulled a Big Dipper and meatball on them.
I told you what I wanted. Now get to it. So he's like, oh, I need a little motivation first. Motivation? You got the
Absolutely.
address.
Like this is the motivation, baby.
Okay, I'm about to give you a blowjob you'll never forget. And then as
Uh-huh.
you're getting dressed, I'm gonna block your number. So then as he's getting dressed and he's leaving, I've already blocked his number and blocked him on Grinder. And then so he didn't know how to get out. So then he comes knocking back at the door. And I open the
Stop.
door and he's like, did you block me? I was like, yeah, I blocked you. He's like, why? I was like, that was fucking awful. He's like, well, I had a great time. I didn't.
Well, like
He's
of
like,
course you did look at the material, but unfortunately it was not mutually beneficial.
and then so he was like, I tried to call you to ask you how do I get out. And I was like, press the green button, but don't worry about coming back. And he's like,
Right.
okay. Okay, so we're gonna play a game. It's called This or That.
Okay, I'm ready.
Are you ready? All right.
Feeling very, very ready.
Top or bottom?
Uh Definitely a bottom, even though I was top fished recently, but maybe that's a story for another day, but I would say bottom.
Side or verse?
Ooh, side.
Dom or sub?
I, I think Betty is a dom, but James behind the mask is definitely sub.
Public or private?
Gosh, can I just say the word yes? I love my privacy, but I'm also the type to pull it out in the car when we're going down the interstate. I don't know.
Right. Vanilla or kinky?
I like a mix of both. I like a mix of both. It just depends on the mood. Sometimes I'm feeling like a little lady, and I just want a little simple, sensual vanilla. But you catch me on the right night, it's giving kinky.
Right. Role play or real life?
Real life, definitely.
Teasing or straight to it?
I'm a teaser. I think that's how I flirt. I love a good build up. I love, you know, some may describe me as an edger. And
Mm.
so I would have to say teasing.
Blindfolded or what?
I like to see, I am a performer when you catch me in the bedroom, so I'm going to say white.
Lights or dark?
Unless it's a mood lighting, I'm going dark.
I mean, you can tell by my room. My room, and you can tell the lighting. Rough or gentle?
Rough. Only if you've earned it though, because it's like don't come at me too hard if I'm not feeling you like that. But I would have to say rough. We like a little dominant.
Quickie or take?
Quickie, listen, I like to get this shit over with. Like 35 minutes in, no matter how digmatized I am, I'm already thinking about like, okay, where are we about to go eat after this? I know you mentioned you had some banana pudding in the fridge. Are we still waking that up later or no? So I would have to say more of a quickie.
Lingerie or naked?
Naked, definitely. I think that I am a lover of my body, so I like to, maybe if it's a slip off of a robe, but definitely naked.
Drag Race is definitely a when we start talking about queer history, like when we start like I mean, like of course, yeah, we're gonna talk about Stonewall and
Of course.
Jefferson, but I mean, BB Sahara Benet being the first winner of Drag Race, Peppermint coming out as a trans female in the middle of production.
Yes.
Backstage tea, Peppermint said they shut the entire production down when she said that.
Oh,
But when she asked Peppermint about it, Peppermint said they did not know what to do, so they shut down to send everybody so they could discuss what to do. And they had no choice. I mean, she definitely changed the game for making it possible for Gia Gunn and Sasha Colby, Harry Colby,
Kylie Sonique Love.
all these people to come back and compete. Because I mean, of course, like you think about season four, where season four originally before season 16 had all the trans girls.
Thing though about the old school Drag Race, I once I started watching Drag Race, I started at season 6, like I mentioned, and then I kept up, and then once I went back and watched all of the previous seasons, whenever I finally, you know, discovered it, I was so surprised. Culture was so different back then. There was a lot of, oh, you're not a drag queen, you're a trans woman. Oh no, I think you just want to be a trans woman. And so, I'm really glad that the show has evolved because hearing some of that, especially modern day, was shocking to me because, I think that like in full reality, I think the Black community, I think the trans community, like they've always been at the forefront of drag, and they've gotten drag to the point where Drag Race or anything like it can even fucking exist in the first place. So the fact that, you couldn't, Drag Race came around, and in the earlier seasons, which of course Drag Race has since evolved, but you know, I just thought it was so shocking that some of these seasoned performers were talking the way that they were as if like they themselves wouldn't even be where they were at that time without the hard work of like the the people of color, the trans women, and especially the trans women of color that
Mm-hmm.
pop their shit to get like those queens to where they were to this day.
But it was a different time. Season one was like 15 years ago.
Yes, yes. We're now. You're not lying. You're not lying. Wake that up, actually. And one thing that I am shocked about when it comes to Drag Race is, I think that, you know, the international versions have dabbled in this, but like, I am surprised that, you know, I know she went a different direction with Dragula, but like, I think there are so many amazing bearded performers and drag king performers and
Mm-hmm.
drag king performers that, like I'm really surprised Drag Race has not opened up their stage to yet. Like I thought
Still laugh at the fact that like the producer has said like, oh, well, what are they going to do about certain? Because they've said like they've talked about like, oh, well, what about some of the things that are male thing or like female roles and how we're going to do that? But then you think about it, it's like some of the drag queens had to do male-ish characters,
anyways, yes.
and it's
And
like some of the Snatch Game characters. I mean, Kenny Davenport being the first person to do a male Snatch Game character.
say that's my favorite Snatch game of all time. Her Little Richard was such a game changer for me, and I think Kennedy Davenport inspired me a lot, and then I think seeing a controversial figure nowadays, but I think Nina Bonina with the things that she did, I think that she plays with gender and she plays with what drag can be. I think seeing that on TV for the first time really motivated me and taught me like there's so much more to drag than just, you know, I respect all forms of drag, but you can do other
Same
things
way. I'm the
being a
same way.
woman or going for traditionalism. Like I think that that showed me that you can be appreciated for any art form or any style of drag outside of what is considered the norm. And I think Drag Race is really, while I love Drag Race, has really shaped what the norm of drag should be. And I think that Dragula proved when they cast Landon Cider, they proved Drag Race wrong. It's so easy to interpret the challenge, but just through a drag king lens.
Hmm. But I feel like, and this will probably be controversial, but I feel like when it comes down to it, ooh, it's all about how you interpret it. So when I see like local drag kings in Houston, like you have some really great ones that really go for it, and you have some that I'm like they don't, and I'm like you can push more. Like don't be afraid to fem it up. And I guess that's the other thing about it is like drag queens are afraid to be butch, and drag kings are afraid to be feminine.
When in reality, all of this is playing with gender norms, gender stereotypes. Like that's what, no matter what genre of drag you do, like that is what we're all doing at the end of the day. And so I agree. I think people, especially in Houston, there are some amazing drag queens. Barry, uh, Calagente, uh, Juicy Powell. Like, I think there are some really hard hitting kings in Houston, and I'm really happy to see this king renaissance coming up because you're right. I have seen some questionable king content in the scene, and if I can, I would love to give a shout out to one of my favorite drag kings of all time. It is actually somebody that I perform with at my home bar, which is called the Loose Caboose in Lafayette, Louisiana. His name is King Katia, and I think that he is somebody that plays with femininity and masculinity in his king drag so much, and I think that he is always trying to elevate, and that is something that I really, really, really admire in a performer.
And I appreciate like all forms of drag, and I think the Boulets have definitely featured that on Dragula on its own, especially with five. Season five was probably the most diverse drag we've ever seen.
I
Like
agree. Carson,
Fantasia, oh,
Fantasia.
oh my gosh, I love her.
I'll just say Fantasia received a lot of mixed criticism, mixed reception on her season, but Fantasia is someone that I've followed for a long time. I think that, you know, there are contestants who have brought and delivered a lot less than she did that got only a fraction of the hate that she did, and I think Fantasia is an absolute icon.
I think that was always been my problem with Dragula is people try and understand. Like it's not meant for you to understand. It's meant for you to watch. The heart.
Right.
I have a soft spot in my heart for JK. I love JK.
Mo, let me tell you, I have to say I am a JK apologist from the very beginning. I have to say I fell in love with JK the moment that the first episode of her season came out, or his season, excuse me, came out, and it was when they were all grouped together, they were meeting each other, and I forget exactly how it went down, but Blackberry, she made one little kind of poke at JK, and she was like, "Well, Blackberry, baby, I'm sure you do a sickening brunch number." And from that moment, I was like, I understand who JK is, and their drag also really resonated with the type of drag that I do, and I really do hope to be on Dragula one day, and I'll always fantasize having a JK run on the show.
I mean, I just think like JK represents a lot of what drag is.
I agree. Woody, I don't want to hear anything about being an Amazon queen from somebody who also does not have the talent to make their own garment. I think drag is expensive, and I think when it comes down to it, it's about how you style it, it's about how you present it, and it's about how you embellish it, and it's about how you go out there and if you can convey the message that you're trying to convey, who the fuck cares where it comes from? I think that is a very cop out critique on
This is why
performance.
I
Like,
love the first seasons of Drag Race, the early seasons, because I mean,
yep,
like the
yes,
girls were styling stuff. Season 8, they were going to out of the closet and getting stuff and putting stuff together. Except for Kimchi. Kimchi changed Drag Race runways
I
because those
agree.
girls came with packages, with stuff. I mean, like the other girls, they were like, "Oh, this is cute." At this, I mean, Chi Chi, she made a lot of her stuff. Her Madonna
Yes,
look, she
yes.
made.
And Chi Chi is somebody that is not far from where I grew up. And
Mm-hmm.
I knew of Chi Chi before she even got on Drag Race. I was always a big fan of drag. I got into Drag Race a little later, but once I found out that Chi Chi got on Drag Race, that was a big deal to me because she is the we haven't had a whole lot of Louisiana representation on Drag Race
Yeah,
or even
she is the first queen from Louisiana, from the state of
yes,
Louisiana.
yeah. So I love that she was so authentically Louisiana, but she was also a representation of the type of drag that I grew up watching. It's people that are resourceful. They're going to, put their best together with limited resources. And that is something that I very much resonate with. Drag is expensive. Life is
Right?
expensive.
Because
I think it's
I
better.
mean, watching, because of course it's different watching as someone who's never done drag, and now like watching drag, like old episodes of Drag Race, as someone who's been in drag for 5 years. I can understand why Chi Chi felt the way she felt because you have Naisha, former Miss Continental,
Of
with
course. Of course.
gowns and all kinds of stuff, fierce entertainer,
She was
and
amazing, and it's a huge loss to the community that we no longer have Miss Chi with us.
very much. Chi Chi is a great entertainer. I think season 8 was definitely a season of some real different drag, but very in your. That was a great cast
It was a phenomenal cast. We had
because
the chaos of Bill Berry.
I think Layla's an amazing queen. Layla's
I
a
agree.
phenomenal makeup artist, but a great entertainer. Is a cosplay queen, but can sew. I mean, Dax's Hello Kitty look for that first runway.
They have slept on Dax a little bit. I think that was the double elimination deserved? Perhaps, but I will say that I think that Dax could have making some shit shake if she were given another chance. Honestly, I think that acid comes from New York City, where she sees the biggest and the boldest and the most outrageous. And being a Louisiana queen myself, I mean, most of these queens can make the most beautiful things out of complete nothing. And I
I
think
mean,
that is,
because
yeah, yeah, I have to agree. And I have to say that, the time I spent in Houston, I'm very grateful for, but you know how it is. The Houston scene is very competitive, and there's a lot of politics and dick riding and ass kissing that goes into being able to navigate the Houston scene. And I think that once I made it back home after my Desi's experience, I think once I started finding more opportunities for myself in, you know, Lake Charles, Lafayette, New Orleans, Baton Rouge, I realized like there really is a strong camaraderie. Um,
I
of
love performing
around
in New Orleans. I got to perform there a couple of times.
no, Oz has always treated me nice. Le Cabaret, has always treated me nice. I adore New Orleans and the queens out there, like Laveau Contraire,
I
Mahogany
love her.
Cable.
Oh, I
I mean,
love me some mahogany.
you mentioned her name earlier, B. Ames. Even some right outside of New Orleans. I think one of my first drag inspirations when I started was, I'm not sure if you're familiar with them, but a very iconic um, staple to the community out here, which is Andy Black. I think Andy Black is a game changer. And if you don't know who they are, I definitely recommend an Instagram scroll because they really came in hot and changed the complete game out here and what drag is and could be. And so there are a lot of strong queens that are resourceful that I do think get a little slept on at times. But yeah, I don't know. I really admire Louisiana.
Louisiana, when it comes to pageant, Louisiana probably has a lot of reigning queens. I mean, one major queen is Dextasy,
Dextasy, yes, yes.
Louisiana staple.
She is iconic, and I will say I would love to see her on Drag Race. Oh, I don't know if I should say this. I don't know how far she would go, but I will say this: she would bring top tier entertainment, and we need Dexter on Drag Race. Santana A. Savage, that's somebody that should have been on Drag Race a long time ago. Roxy C. Black. I think there are so many legends out
Roxy,
here that really should have had that opportunity already.
Miss Dominique DeLorean, another national
Oh,
rank queen.
oh, Mama Mo, you're familiar with all the legends out here.
Rod Sinclair, love, love, love.
Ryan Sinclair, I have so much respect for. I will say I have never gotten to work with her officially yet. It's never aligned, but she is somebody that I really, really go up for, I have to say.
I mean, beautiful, talented, just amazing altogether. Watching Lady Fat Cat paint,
Yes, yes.
that she puts on the cosmetic. So, what makes a good up and comer a good?
I think that I think that up and comers are judged harshly. But I do think that like it's really about the potential. It's not about you having the best outfit as an up and comer. It's not about you knowing all of the tricks of the trade. I just think you really can tell, especially when you love drag. I think that you can tell when somebody's out there and you can just see the potential. Like you can see what it is that they'll become if you just give them 1 to 2 more years. And so potential is something I really look for in the up and comer. And also, I'm really about creativity and I'm really about being outside of the box. And when I see that your brain works a little bit differently than everybody else's, and even if, there are more polished queens out there, I think that if the vision is there, if the idea and the concept is there, that's something that's going to make me want to keep checking for you?
Yeah. Now, for me, I think a good up and comer is someone that can. It would be how they take criticism and is a good
Hmm.
judge of the kind of person they are. So it all starts with if somebody tells you like, "Oh, you should try this," and if they try it, then it's like, okay, There's someone that's into growing. But if they fight you on it, then it's like, uh, but
Well, I agree. You have to be humble. I think if you're committed to running in place, it's a little silly. Like Charles, because after our most famous queer bar, Crystal, shut down, I mean, there was virtually nowhere for any of the entertainers to go. And so, I was performing in the world's smallest of venues, and then when I saw South Beach for the first time, I felt like that little girl when she opened the closet and discovered Narnia for the first time.
so now that you have experienced both big venues and full crowds and smaller venues, which one do you prefer?
I have to say, I think that there is a certain rush and adrenaline and certain endorphins that move through me whenever I'm in front of a big crowd. And sometimes there's a little uncomfortability if it's too small of a crowd and too tight of a space. I actually really, now that I've grown as an entertainer, I love being able to be kind of going back to the word intimacy, intimate with the crowd at the smaller venues. But I have to say there is a certain rush and a certain thrill out of being in front of so many people, being able to kind of get their live reaction to your art and your brain and what it is that you're putting out there. So it's a tough one, but I have to say I do prefer a bigger venue.
I've done big venues. I've done drag as just to perform, and I've done it where I was collecting the coins. I love the big venues, and it was always fun, but the money was always at the smaller venue.
And that is true. And that is true because it's that crowd.
It's just something about a smaller, intimate setting just does it for me.
I have to agree.
So, how much does song choice influence the success of an actual lip sync performance to you?
I have to say that you know, for me particularly, I think that it is very influential. It does influence a good performance for me because, I think I'm the type personally. It's hard for me to just go out there and pick a song the night of. Like I'm somebody that really likes to, like I mentioned earlier, I really like to connect with what I'm performing. I really like to like study the song and reflect that in my movements. And I think that while if you're a good performer, you're a good performer and you can go out there and turn anything out. But I think there's a certain special aspect to, really choosing something that you resonate with, whether it be the thing that the crowd knows the most, the top 40 hit, if you resonate with it and if it makes sense to you and you can convey your message through that song, whether it be a pop culture phenomenon of a song or not, I think that, you know, that is something that even if the audience doesn't know that song that well, because of how much you're feeling it, they're going to resonate with it and go up for it.
Yeah,
And you're born with all the dollar bills. Right, right. And I've been there myself. I think every queen can relate to that, or king or performer can relate to that. I think sometimes, depending on the venue you're at, depending on the crowd, in order to, make back what you put in to that look and that hair and that performance and getting ready for that show, sometimes you do have to go out there and do what pays the bills. But I think, you said it best earlier. Some queens end up falling into the rabbit hole of just doing it for the money. And I think that for a lot of people, even whenever I fell into that rut, I noticed that I didn't enjoy drag the same way. And the whole reason I got into drag was because of how much I loved it and how much of the crazy ideas I had in my brain that I wanted to bring to life. And I think, I understand queens that go that direction, but I think that it's a slippery slope because you really can lose sight of what you even started doing this for in the first place. If you want to see some new costumes, tip a bit.
Raja when she did All Stars, $600 on fabric and made everything herself.
See, and it's the queens like Raja O'Hara and even Kennedy Davenport and There's a few others that would come to mind that I respect the most. I mean, I respect all of the performers, but I respect them the most because, yeah, she took $700 and made one of the most incredible packages we had seen up until that point, and it just goes to show you that you don't have to break the bank if you have that
Yeah.
creativity. Yeah, yeah, it's true.
And mind you, and I've gone on many debates about this, but I don't think Roger should have been sent home for them pants that she made on her original
I
season
agree.
because
I
those
agree.
pants were
Yeah.
sickening.
I'm sorry, who can make pants out of fucking burlap? Like that was like a potato sack. Like who can do
And then
that? Like can I say something controversial? I low key like the original better. I don't know.
the original gave me more tree.
Agree. Agree. Or even, if we're going more new school, I think like what's her name? Lydia B. Collins going straight from one season to another, and the fact that she put together her entire package herself and just, God, I don't know, 5 to 7 days before she had to go film again. I think that is something that really is to be respected.
I mean, when they were in their interview thing, and that person said, "How long did you have after filming?" And she said, "For the first part, 4 to 5 days." And everybody's face went
Yeah, it was a face crack. If I could move my face, I would have just mimicked yours.
because I mean the cowboy look, so good,
Agree. Agree.
so
She had
good,
a couple standouts on that one for me.
so good. I mean that's probably one of my favorite looks.
I hate to keep going back to it, but I just think like I would also have to throw in the was this as elevated? No, but when I saw Nina Benina Brown like Peach Head for the first time, I just
Oh,
remember
the detail,
there was
the
something
detail.
so like sinister but cute and yet so high drag about it to me that it really did change my view on what drag could be.
Even Nina's entrance look
Yes.
as a tuxedo mouse, like who would have thought of that?
How can you go from a mouse to a peach and however long they have? I know they don't have long to get ready.
And then to go from a peach to a Gaga reference, it's like, yeah, she won. She won that episode for
I
sure.
have I have to agree, and that is my ultimate Drag Race lip sync assassin. I do have to also say.
Since we're on the topic of lip sync assassins and stuff, how would you categorize somebody as an assassin
Well, are we referring to in real life, or are we referring to on the
on Drag
program?
Race? On Drag Race,
I think it's about one, just straight up how many bitches you can take out, but two, I think it's about what you give because going back to who I just mentioned, I have to say, in the lip sync that sent her home, Nina giving the most manic depressive sex bunny, I gave up 2 hours ago and my Xanax kicked in an hour before that.
another queer icon, definitely. Lip sync assassin is it's they can perform. They have performed both. Shows you that they can move and do a upbeat number, but they also can do a ballad. And that's my problem with a lot of girls in Houston. They cannot do ballads. Have you ever done So You Think You Can Drag?
No, it was happening during my run at Desi, so I never got the chance. And then unfortunately, I had a little mini fall from grace in Houston, so I've never gotten the opportunity, but it's something that I would still very much like to do. I recently did a lip sync battle royale in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and maybe I'm biased. Maybe I myself suffer from drag delusion, but I thought I had beaten the other girl, but because I was giving the lip sync, I was embodying the song. She was bucking and kicking to a Pink song. I'm not sure Pink has a song where you buck and kick to, but hey, that's neither here nor there. But
Not to Pink. Pink is definitely a second round brunch girl.
and that's what I thought I was giving. But
I mean, Ginger Minge is definitely a Pink girly.
yeah, right, right. We saw how that played out.
My number one lip sync assassin of all time. is Chi Chi. Chi Chi DeVay.
I agree. I have to agree.
Because Miss Thing, she delivered Call Me with the backflip,
That
the
was such a
walkover, her emoting. And to me, I love to see someone do a number that's outside of their normal genre.
yes. And
Like,
then that flip in those boots. Imagine. Imagine.
and then her turn around and do it. And I'm telling you,
With those beads just dripping off of her, that is probably one of my favorite Drag Race lip syncs of all time.
that's like my number one lip sync of all time because of Thorgy doing a cartwheel. But I will say it's because Thorgy knew she was going home.
Oh, 100%. Look, that was
She
her.
waved. She waved to the
Oh,
judges. She did the cartwheel. She grabbed Chi Chi's hand and threw Chi Chi's hand up in the air. She knew it was over, and that's why that will be my all-time favorite lip sync. Because I mean, of course, Chi Chi gave it. I mean, she did the song. The beads broke as an accident, but it worked at the right moment. It was pure magic. I think another one that's on my list for me is definitely Alyssa versus Tatiana.
of course, of course. That is like an undeniable, undisputable classic, I have to say.
She's gonna lip sync for her life. She's gonna make sure it's still a good show. That both entertainers are gonna have their moment.
If I can wake it up, I think one of the storyline purposes as well, but I think one of the best lip syncs we've had on Drag Race was also featuring Alyssa, but I do think Alyssa got a little smoked in this one. But when it was Coco Montrese versus Alyssa, I think Coco is a brilliant entertainer, and that was a fight to the death. But once Coco started spinning those sleeves, I knew it was over. I knew it was done for. They could have stopped it right then and there.
Well, Coco knew those words.
Well, yeah, she did the little.
She knew when to jump out that spinning jump split, which I would say is the first time we've seen that on Drag Race. Granted, Jade from season one, that was the first split on Drag
That is true. That is true. And I can't lie, I think she may have been a little robbed in that lip sync, if I can
Race.
say.
She was robbed. Rebecca was a great queen. She was the original villain.
Yeah.
Production will keep their villains around as long as they need them. I think that was the season of personalities because I think like I've worked with Mystique Summers and she is she is a great person to be around. She's such a great person. And I had to tell her, I was like, you're the first plus size black icon, queer icon.
And I have to say, I don't think they give her her flowers. I mean, she's the one that coined the iconic phrases like, bitch, I'm from Chicago, and
Piece in
also
the biscuit.
two piece and a biscuit. Also, you know, I had to wear mall couture country drag because the cartel. Like nobody has moments like that anymore. I don't know. I think it's time for us to bring Mystique Summers back on Drag Race.
Thinking, I think it's definitely a talent that a lot of people just graze over. So, what's the most challenging aspect of lip syncing in a performance?
The most challenging aspect of lip syncing in a performance. Wow. I think the most challenging would be, I think that when you're somebody that and I think, anybody can relate to this, but I think that really connecting with the audience. I think, whenever you perform at a regular venue, you usually know what to expect. But when you travel to somewhere else or you're entering a new space for the first time, especially with, being a guest spot with a cast of people who perform there regularly, you don't know what to expect. You don't know what that particular crowd is going to go up for. And I think that kind of finding a middle ground of what speaks to you and then what's also going to speak to this new crowd when you have no idea what to expect from this new crowd. I think that is a very challenging part of it. And I also think that, you know, when you have a particular lip sync style, I consider myself somebody with a particular lip sync style. I think it's really hard to get out there and do what it is that you do when people are so used to seeing like and again, I admire these performers, but when you know they're used to seeing like the queens that don't lip sync and their leg goes up above their head and they're cutting into a split right in the middle of that really slow Patti LaBelle song. I think that when people come to expect that and that's not what you go out there and give, I think that that is sometimes a detriment to you whenever people are especially considering now modern days, like they are comparing you to the things that they see on Drag Race, where you see a lot of dips and kicks and splits and stunts. I think that, I think people forget what lip syncing is really all about. And I've found that challenging, but I will say where I'm at in my journey now, I have definitely been able to find a nice balance
Hmm.
with that.
Now, do you ask like them like what do the people normally go up for, or you just go and do your own thing?
I will always opt to go and do my own thing. I think, like I said earlier, it's really important for me to stick to my guns. And of course, I want people to go up for what I do. And I want to, because, I consider myself a professional. And I want to, if you're going to take a chance on me and you're going to book me and you've never worked with me before, I want you to know that I'm going to take the entertainment value of what I bring to your show very seriously because you took a chance on me for your show. But I think it's always really important for me to stick to my guns, and I've found that that has been the biggest payoff. I think anytime I've tried to sacrifice that and kind of, go out there and do like a Sabrina Carpenter Dua Lipa number, and that's not really something that I would maybe choose to do on a normal day. I found that I wasn't able to really give my all versus if I just go in doing exactly what I want to do, it always ends up resonating with the crowd, even if that's not what they're used to seeing, because they see what energy you're bringing behind it and they see, and I also think it kind of helps whenever they're used to seeing one thing and then you come in and show them a completely different side of something else, and so it's really always important for me to stick to my Bad Off Betty brand of, these people never knowing what to expect from me.
I like that. I like that. See, I'm the complete opposite. I I keep a lot of songs in my wheelhouse. I gotta keep it fresh, keep it fresh.
Well, you're a diverse performer. I have to say, I mean, as somebody that is a fan of yours, I mean, I feel like you can really do a little bit of anything, and I think that's a superpower.
And that's why I came up with my new statements. When you're dealing with these judges, you have to think you're showing it to a 5-year old who has no idea what's going on.
I mean, it's true. I think that I got extremely lucky with my critiques each week, but I think that I noticed, not to wake it up or anything, but I noticed like on the weeks that Desi wasn't there, I think that that's when I experienced probably, because she was doing Miss Gay America at the time, and so there were weeks that she had to miss, and I think that I noticed when we had our guest judges that filled in, I think they were the ones that didn't really get my humor or what I was going for, even though, the people that show up every week, they completely understood it. But again, I mean, like you said, I mean, it's really just about how you have to make it palatable for the judges. And that's why I was very, very careful. Like, whenever they did give me a critique, like, I made sure they were not going to see whatever they critique me on a second time. Of course, absolutely. I think that, every judge has their favorite. And I will say, I think on my season, there was a lot being said about how the judges really did, and I cannot confirm nor deny this, but I think everybody was kind of feeling that they were trying to build up a rivalry or some kind of like competitive rivalry between myself and Glitter Love. Rain was the one that really got me and understood me the most. I think Kara was extremely forgiving and like she was extremely like into what I was doing. I think my toughest one was Coffee. I think that she was amazing and so sweet, but she was always the one to be like, All right, I'm not sure I completely got it, but I think everybody else is buying it. And so a lot of my time was really trying to crack the code of what coffee was looking for.
And I mean, and I've I've worked for coffee, and she's a hard one to read.
Can I just say one iconic story I will never forget about Miss Coffee?
What is it?
So it was one week after, or it was one night after our Desi's show, whatever week it was, ended, and I was giving Miss Wilhelmina Guest a ride home, but she really wanted to do So You Think You Can Drag right after. And at that time, I don't know how it's structured today, but at that time, So You Think You Could Drag would happen immediately after our Desi's
Yeah,
show. So Wilhelmina stayed, and I will never ever forget this. They had some incredible performances that night, including my girl Wilhelmina. Barry killed it that night. So many other entertainers did amazing that night, but I will never forget Coffee ordered DoorDash in the middle of somebody's performance, and literally that DoorDasher walked right through that stage. She got her DoorDash. I'm not sure she saw a single move, twirl, spin, or whatever that performer was doing. She decided it was time to eat, and I have to say, as soon as I saw that, I was like, I know exactly who Coffee is now, and I cannot help but respect it. Not
or what catches her eye in the instant. Like coffee, I think I've now figured it out. Coffee judging is like a person with ADHD. You have to grab
you
her
gotta
attention
really captivate her.
right away, and that's all she's gonna remember about you. But it's like if she sees that you knew, if you crack the code to the audience, that's when she's like, okay, I got you. I'm watching you.
See, I think she was probably one of the only ones to really give me a negative critique during my run, but even her negative critiques were really not that much of a fatal blow. Like I remember we did a creative superhero challenge, and I went out there as Betty the Vampire Slayer, and she gave me such high praise, but I think what docked me points was she said, I'm not sure that a vampire slayer is an original concept for a hero. And like you said, in the moment you're thinking everything you're doing is top tier. So I'm like, what do you mean? Like I felt like I no pun intended, but I slayed that. But like looking back, you go back every now and then, you'll watch your old videos, or you'll see this, or you'll reflect. And I see what she was saying, and I think that coffee just comes from an era where she's used to seeing certain things, and I think that she's used to a certain level of polish and such. And so like I really like towards the end, like I always loved coffee, but towards the end I really understood her, and I think that once I was able to crack the code of what coffee was looking for, I think that ended up being a huge benefit to me.
Now, did you know the coffee is also from Louisiana?
That I did not know. I am gagged. Okay.
Leland. Oh.
She's from a small little town.
But you know,
That is crazy. I had no idea.
if you could start over in drag, what would you do differently?
Ooh. If I could start over, I think that honestly, I don't think I would do a single thing differently. And the reason I say that, it's not because I've done everything amazing. It's not because I've made all of the best choices or decisions. It's just, I think I've learned so much from the time that I started. I've learned so much from my successes and my fatality level flops that it really made me the performer and the drag artist that I am today. And honestly, I don't think I would do anything differently. Now, there is a question I know you have coming up that I'm very eager to answer that is kind of in a similar vein, but honestly, for the most part, I don't think I would do anything differently because I don't think that I would have learned some of the lessons I needed to if I would have not done and experimented with some of the things that I have.
Now we'll take it a step further. Now, if you knew what you knew now, so let's say like from now, everything you know about drag and everything you know about yourself, but you went back and time? Would you do anything differently?
I think yes. I think that, coming from the area of Louisiana that I come in, coming from the neighborhood and my town, my hometown that I come from, I have always had to be very outspoken and I've always had to be very I've had to be somebody that has to demand respect. And I think, whenever you come from that kind of background, you can maybe come across as a little bit combative and a little bit ready to pop at any opportunity. And I think that so basically, if I could do one thing different with everything I know now and everything I've experienced, it would definitely be to, pick your battles. It would definitely be to not everything dignifies a response. Not everything is worth going from 0 to 10. And I think that that is a lesson that I'm grateful to have learned, but if I could go back in time knowing that, I think that I would have had a much easier trajectory getting to where I am now.
Hmm. And our last question: if you give your 18-year-old self some advice, what would you say?
Stop fucking those 45 plus year old men. They are not shit. They are not shit, and I don't know that they know how to wipe their own ass at times. So, I would say stay away from the geriatric men and probably don't start smoking weed 2 years before that, cause it will fry your brain. And if I may just say one more thing on my way out, because this has been such a cut up, and you are such an amazing host, and you have made me feel nothing but comfortable. There was something that I was very eager to answer, and if I could just throw that out there really quickly,
Yeah.
one of the questions that I had read was something along the lines of, do you have or do you have a big regret in drag, or what is one of your biggest regrets in
Oh yeah.
drag?
Yeah.
And I would just like to take the time to very lightly address something. I want to say that one of my biggest regrets in drag was there was a certain situation post Desi's that I got a lot of love. I got a lot of good feedback from the amazing community of Houston. And I think that, I was feeling like I was on a high. And unfortunately, there was a situation where I think things between me and another big name performer kind of escalated a little bit. And, I think that I've had a lot of time to reflect and grow from that situation. And I just think that that would probably be one of my biggest regrets is how I handled that situation. Not only in the moment, but moving forward. And so, with that being said, even though, I've said my truth, they've said their truth, I do just want to take a little moment to give a formal apology to the artist out there that is named Iris Seymour. I think that things did not end on the best note with us, but as you mature and as you grow, you are able to kind of, remove yourself from certain situations and certain feelings and reflect. And upon reflection, that is just something that I wanted to kind of extend. I just wanted to extend a formal apology due to the way that that situation went down.
Yeah. No, I got you. I got you. And I'm pretty sure at this point, she is definitely the type of person. Things over time, she's not one to hold grudges. And so I'm pretty sure I can hash things out and not
For
hash things
sure,
out,
for sure.
but get because she's fucking amazing. I love her. I love her. Fucking amazing. And I'm glad that you were able to reflect over it and grow and see where differences lie, and you're
Absolutely.
you're ready to move on. I hope she's ready to move on because I think she's amazing. You're amazing. So yeah,
Well, thank you. And again, thank you so much for your time. This was honestly so much fun. And the fact that I got to do drag just from the waist up really is truly the best thing that could have happened to me in my drag career thus far.
So much fun. And next time, as we dive deep into all things drag, lifestyle, and fun, I'm Mo Love and BFU.
Bye.